scientists unearthed the 18,000-year-old remains of a 3-foot-tall, 1-meter, adult female hominid in 2003 years in the Liang Bua cave on the remote Indonesian island of Flores. Since then, scientists have argued over whether the remains belonged to a human with an abnormally small head or represented a new species in the human family tree. The diminutive female had a brain approximately 1/3 the size of modern adult humans. Whether or not these small-bodied individuals lived alongside modern humans is getting closer to having an answer. Researchers found hobbits vanished from Flores either before or soon after modern humans arrived. And in January 2016, they discovered evidence this hobbit had a relative living on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. The specimen, along with fossils of various animals, was unearthed in the Liang Bua cave on the island. Some scientists named the specimen Homo floresiensis, a dwarfed offshoot of Homo erectus, shown here in artist depiction, a human ancestor that lived as far back as 1.8 million years ago. However, critics remained convinced the specimen was that of a human with microencephalia, a pathological condition characterized by a small head, short stature and varying degrees of mental retardation. To look into microencephaly, a team of scientists led by Dean Falk, a paleoneurologist at Florida State University, compared computer-generated three-dimensional reconstructions, called endocasts, of brains from 9 microcephalic modern humans with those of 10 normal modern human brains. They found two ratios created using different skull measurements could accurately distinguish the normal human's skull, right, from the microcephalics. When Falk's team applied this classification system to a virtual endocast, the hobbit's skull, left, they found its features more closely resembled that of a normal human than a microcephalic. In 2007, work by Matthew Tockery, an anthropologist at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., and colleagues found the female hobbit's wrist bones matched, in shape and orientation, those of non-human apes. They looked much different from the wrist bones of Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, and modern humans, also pointing to a new species. A detailed analysis of the feet of Homo floresiensis reveals the small-statured hominids, though bipedal, had feet that were so primitive their gait was not efficient, essentially, they couldn't hustle, suggests the 2009 study. Professor Chris Stringer holds a cast taken from a skull that is said to be that of a new species in the evolution of man named Homo floresiensis, during a news conference in London, Wednesday, October 27, 2004. In the Liang Bua cave where the hobbit remains were found, scientists also discovered a large number of bird fossils, including 20,000 to 50,000-year-old wing and leg bones from what appears to have been a stork that stood nearly 6 feet tall. The researchers speculated the extinct predatory stork may have fed on fishes, lizards and birds, and possibly in principle even small, juvenile hobbits, though they note no evidence for such hominid munching. Her stature combined with evidence from other fossils found at the site paint a picture of a diminutive bipedal individual who used stone tools and fire while hunting the island's pygmy elephants, Komodo dragons and giant rats. In more recent research, anthropologist Susan Hayes, a senior research fellow at University of Wollongong, New South Wales, fleshed out the face of the female hobbit. To do so, Hayes uploaded information from 3D imaging scans of the skull into a computer graphic program and also looked at portraits by paleo artists of the hobbit, finding these earlier interpretations were skewed toward monkey features. Her examination, meanwhile, suggested modern features were more accurate. She's not what you'd call pretty, but she's definitely distinctive, Hayes said. The female doesn't have feminine-looking big eyes and she's lacking much of a forehead. Hayes' background in forensic science helped her reconstruct the face of the famous 3-foot, 1 meter, 30-year-old female hobbit uncovered in 2003. She is pictured here, at right, with Judy Raper and Richard Fullegar, fellow researchers at the University of Wollongong in Australia. Hayes, right, looking at a replica of Homo floresiensis with University of Wollongong researcher Penny Williamson. Virtual endocasts, red, from section skulls, blue, of a human microcephalic, left, and LB1, right, the fossil specimen of Homo floresiensis. Images were produced using three-dimensional computed tomography, 3D SETI. Homo floresiensis. A team of researchers excavates in the limestone cave called Liang Bua, on the Indonesian island of Flores. The scientists exposed parts of the Indonesian cave that hadn't been seen in the original excavations. Their work revealed that layers of sediment in the cave were not deposited evenly. That uneven layering may have thrown off early ore age estimates for the cave deposits, they said. Archaeological excavations at Liang Bua Cave can reach depths of more than 26 feet, 8 meters, as shown in this photo. The analysis, detailed in March 2016 in the journal Nature, showed that the hobbits used the cave between 190,000 and 50,000 years ago. They were likely not there as recently as about 12,000 years ago, which had been suggested previously. So the hobbits may not have known their big-bodied relatives. There was no lengthy period of overlap between the two species, as far as we can determine, said study co-author Richard Burt Roberts, a geochronologist at the University of Wollongong in Australia. In fact, we don't even know if they overlapped at all. Stone tools discovered on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi dating back at least 118,000 years suggest that an unknown lineage of tool makers, relatives of the diminutive hobbit, once lived there. The excavations of the mysterious hobbit relative took place near the village of Talepu on Sulawesi. The island itself sits just north of Flores, where scientists in 2003 unearthed 18,000-year-old fossils belonging to a hominin with a grapefruit-sized brain who has been dubbed the hobbit for its diminutive size, 3 foot, or 1 meter, tall. Scientists excavated the Talepu site on Sulawesi, where they found evidence of a tool-making hominin. Now, we can start trying to find fossil evidence of the makers of these ancient tools, lead author Gerrit van den Berg, a paleontologist and zooarchaeologist at the University of Wollongong in Australia, told Live Science.